Well, we laugh because I always clear my throat before I start talking. And I was talking, I coughed, and I thought, uh-oh. So I hit the cough button. So you wouldn't have been able to hear it. Anyway, welcome. It's Mary Wieden, and you, and you, and you, and you, and all of you out there. And it's April Fool's Day, so what do you think about that? We're going to talk about Grace Kelly. Not that Grace Kelly. No, Grace Kelly, the saxophonist, in just a few minutes here, because we're going to talk about the big annual Township Jazz Fest, which is this coming Saturday. It's always so great, and it'll be great again this year, and there'll be more and more people because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. How you can call us up if you'd like to do that is 888-808-8637, and you can text us at 601-879-4395. That's 601-879-4395. Or you can watch us at supertalk.fm/Mary because we live stream. But before we get to that, it's also Election Day, folks. Go over some things with you this morning. The polls are open. They start at 7 o'clock, and they're going to be open until 7 o'clock tonight. And please vote. We're just going to get on your behinds about voting today, aren't we? We're going to get people out to vote because unless you are like me living in an unincorporated area of the city, or unincorporated of the county, excuse me, and of the world. You all live in cities and towns, and you need to get out and vote. I don't want to vote. Yes, you do. You got to get out and vote. That's just all there is to it. But just a couple things here. In Jackson, there are 19 candidates. We're not going to go through all these candidates, but I will just tell you who the top two are, and they have been on this program, and I did not know that. I mean, they became the top two. The first one was John Horn, and the other one is Tim Henderson. Both of them been on, before I knew, and so. But those are the top two candidates there in the Jackson mayoral race. I'm going to go through the towns. I'm not going to go through all the aldermen and stuff like that. In Ridgeland, Gene McGee has no opposition, but there are a couple of one or two alderperson slots open there. Now, in Gluckstadt, Walter Morrison does not have any opposition. He was the what do you want to call it? The fake mayor, not the fake mayor, but he acted as mayor for a long time and got elected as mayor, and he's being reelected again. No opposition there. In Clinton, Phil Fisher, has resigned, and they don't have to vote on a mayor there because there was one guy who qualified. His name is Will Purdy, and they say he's basically kind of running things anyway. Don't have to worry about Clinton either. Now, Brandon and Flowood have evolved as the two top other towns to look at, and luckily enough, and they're from Brandon and from Flowood, and that means Rankin County land. So we've taken care of all these Rankin County people. In Brandon, it's the mayor, Butch Lee, the incumbent, who's been there for several years, and his opposition is Fred Shanks, Representative Fred Shanks. And so those two are over there. And then in Flowood, Gary Rhodes, is leaving office. And so it's Kathy Smith versus Greg Wilcox, and both of them have been on the show as well. So I'm amazed that we were so prescient that we saw all these things, but we did. So get out and vote for these people. Now, there's one city in our area that is not having an election today. What? How is that possible that you can have nobody? No, they don't have, there's no election because they don't want to do that. Because there's a good reason why. Does anybody have any idea who I'm talking about? No? Lance? Got any ideas? No? Well, Tripp. Raphael, no idea. The city of Madison. They're not having an election because they're all incumbents and they don't have any opposition. So there's no point in having an election. I mean, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? So Mary Hawkins Butler and all the rest of them just, so they're saving some money. I guess they can spend in the lawsuit, right? What lawsuit are you talking about, Mary? Well, that's the one that is between Gluckstadt and Madison about this tract of land, about a 4-mile tract of land that they each want. And I guess it's in the hands of the judge now. It's in Chancery Court. I don't know why it was in Chancery because that's the divorce court. But anyway, they each want this land. But so anyway, and that's interesting because the mayor up there has no opposition and Mary has no opposition and all that sort of thing. So that's the deal on voting. Please, the polls are open until 7 o'clock. Please get out and vote. Don't be one of those, I know how to vote. You've got to do it because you have got to have a say. Either oh, I picked the right one, or oh, rats, I picked the wrong one. You'll have a right to brag or to nag. Oh, that's a good one. To brag or nag if you will vote. Now, the other thing is I spent my weekend basically in ice skating land. It was World Championships being held in Boston, and it was fabulous. The United States has won 3 out of the 4 categories. of the world. This isn't just nationals. This is the world, and these are skaters from all over the place, except Russia. They're, the International Skating Union has blown them away because of their warrior ways. But we have one in the men's, Ilya Malinin. He is fabulous. He's he's all 20 years old now, and he was going to do 7 quad jumps. He made it 6. One of them failed him, but that's okay. I mean, it used to be that somebody would be working on a quad, maybe would do a 1 quad and and then it went on for years and years, and then you go up in the air, you're going around 4 times. That's it. And he's won the men's for the whole thing. Everybody's favorite skater is a guy named Jason Brown. He is a United States skater. He won nationals some years ago. He's the most beautiful kind of everything skater. Everything he does is fluid and precise, but he doesn't do quads. He only does triples, so therefore he doesn't get in the top 5 or even 3 or whatever in the international scene. But that's okay. He goes to the Olympics and skates it. Everybody can see him. He gets a standing O before he's even done with his program. I mean, everybody's up on their feet. Everybody loves Jason Brown. But anyway, he didn't, but he was there, and he won in our hearts because we all love him. Then in the women's, what a surprise. There's a Japanese skater who everybody's really hot on her. Her name was Kaori somebody. I don't know what her last name was. And I saw her skate. She was fabulous. We have a young skater named Isabel, spelled Isabeau, I guess, Isabel Levito. She's only like 17 years old, beautiful skater, just everything is perfect, except she did have surgery on one of her feet or ankles, and she did fall and she did lose, unfortunately. She got booted out. And Amber Glenn, our national champion, who I'm kind of lukewarm about her anyway, but she skated. She wasn't fabulous. But then Kaori skated, and oh man, she's got it. She's so good. And we had one last skater, and it was this girl named Alyssa Liu, Liu, who's been skating for years. And I saw her when she was years ago, and then she disappeared. And she never made an impression, I guess I'd have to say. Well, and so she was coming after Kaori, and I thought, oh well, we'll get through this. Well, she just exploded. She was perfect. She was happy. Everything was together about her, and she won it. And Kaori came over and hugged her. I mean, that's how they are. Yeah. So number 1 man, Ilya, number 1 woman, Alyssa, and then pairs, I lost track of them. I don't know. They didn't win anything. But then the other category is dance. Ice dancing used to be just a couple of people going around like in a serpentine, and that would be about it. Well, now it's very, very elaborate. They don't do spins per se. They do some together, and they do something called twizzles, where they skate side by side and both going on like an extended, it looks like a slinky pattern on the ice. And it's not the tight spins that you're used to seeing, and they don't do the kinds of lifts and throws like in pairs. They'll say, oh, here's a throw, triple twist. So the guy will throw the woman, and she'll go around in the air 3 times and come down. That's in pairs. In dance, she doesn't do that. She may stand like on his legs or something, but they don't do. But it's very intricate. It's all with the feet. And their feet are very intricate, and their feet are very close. Anyway. Our champions, yay! Madison Chalk and Evan Bates won it, and they've skated together for years. And they've won these things for years, and there were some good challenges. There was a good couple from Canada, of all places these days. But anyway, they were good. But Chalk and Bates were great, and last year Chalk and Bates announced that they were together. Well, now they're married, which is just a cool thing. It's just a really neat thing. So we have won 3 national spots. 3 international, 3 number 1s in the international world. There's no more competing now. They're done until the Olympics. But every year, worlds are held, and in different places, around the world. Well, this one was in Boston. And then on Sunday, tearjerker, 13 of the people who went down in that airplane crash with the helicopter were from the Boston Skating Club. And there were skaters. They were coming from Wichita. There were skaters and coaches. Well, they dedicated a whole lot of the whole performances. But then there was a program on Sunday called Legacy on Ice, and they had obviously taped it before the competition began, because they were saying, here's Alyssa Liu. She won bronze a long time ago. By the way, Alyssa Liu, I'm thinking she must be 25 or 26 years old, right? She must be getting old. She's only 19 years old, and she'd retired and come back and all this stuff. Anyway, But Legacy on Ice was dedicated to them, to the Boston Skating Club. And one of the people who skated, he hadn't skated in years that we could see anyway, was a guy named Johnny Weir. Johnny Weir is a very flamboyant dresser who is an announcer with Tara Lipinski, and they work for NBC. You never know what he's going to show up as or whatever. But he was very somberly dressed in a black outfit. His hair was, perfectly straight and all that kind of stuff. He skated great, and he was a champion like the early part of the twos, and it was exciting to see him skate again. But they weren't doing it for the glory. They didn't do this kind of stuff. They just skated for the glory of those kids and the coaches. And Nancy Kerrigan was there, but she wasn't there to skate. She was just there to introduce some people. It was nice to see her there. Peggy Fleming was there from a long time ago. She didn't skate either. Brian Boitano was one of the people, one of the hosts of this thing. See, he didn't skate, but what's his name? Scotty Hamilton was there. A lot of people like that. And then there was, so individuals would come and do things. Well, there was a young woman who skated. I think she's probably 13 or 14. Her father was one of the coaches. She was like, ooh. She was in tears, as we all were. I get in tears to talk about it. And then there was a guy whose mother and father were coaches who perished, and he skated too. And everybody's in tears. But he skated because that's what they do. That's what you do. You got to do it. You got to do it, or it's just in you to do it. And so it was a beautiful program. And at the end, all the skaters did some stuff. They got a big circle, and each one would do some things, but it was all for them. And it was superb. But anyway, that was the big skating weekend. Woohoo! Now, welcome to Raphael Semmes and Tripp Douglas. And I'm saying your name wrong again. I always say Raphael, but you say what?
Raphael.
Oh, Raphael. Put the accent on the first syllable.
And after the interview today, of course, a lot of people out there don't realize this, but I'm going to be competing in the 2030 Olympics, and Tripp is my coach. So we're working on a jazz routine with not a quad, but a quin. That's 5.
Ooh,
so
we're waiting on those.
Yeah, we'll get you a front row seat.
Oh, thank you very much.
April Fool.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's the next thing. It's going to be Quinn or Quint. Tripp, that's crazy, but that's what they're doing these days. Oh, one of the people who skated was a guy named Plashenko, Yuri Plashenko or something. Plashenko, who used to have long blonde straight hair and a big nose. But he's filled in. His nose wasn't so big. His hair was darker and curly. Plashenko. Yeah, but anyway. So, hey, we got the big jazz festival coming up this weekend, folks. So, what you guys got going on? Tripp Douglas is here, too. He is the owner of the Soul Shine. Hello. I told you I don't get enough sleep the night before, which is why my words get confused. But He's Fusion Coffee House, yes.
Fusion Coffee House, you need some coffee.
Right next, I don't drink coffee. But anyway, that's right next to Soul Shine. But anyway. And
Soul Shine is actually going to be at the event selling pizza.
And you live right across, right across the street.
Yep.
Yeah, so anyway.
So, we've got the 18th Annual Township Jazz Festival. 18.
No, can't believe that.
We're super excited about, you mentioned our headliner, Grace Kelly. We're really excited to get her. We've been trying for a few years.
I'm going to hold this up. Yeah, you've been trying to get her. Where is she, in New Orleans?
Well, I think lives in
everywhere.
California now.
Oh, okay.
And her band, it's interesting. We're arranging the airport transportation. She's got 4 band members coming, and they're literally coming from all parts of the U.S.
Wow.
I'm not sure where they all live, but they're coming in different times, different flights. So it's really a treat to see somebody of this caliber.
Well, when Raphael told me about her, I said it right. And I'm a stickler for saying things properly. But anyway, so I looked her up. I Googled her. And I had, if you want to, well, we're going to hear some stuff here, I think, if Lance is able to get it.
Yeah, I've got a bumper on the way in. I didn't know if you were going to.
Whatever.
Yeah,
whatever.
We'll be doing bumps with Grace on the from here on out.
So I Googled, well, first of all, you get Grace Kelly, the actress, but if you Google saxophonist Grace Kelly, she's terrific. And she's a singer, too.
Yeah, she does it all. Yeah, her website is gracekellymusic.com.
Okay.
And you can see videos and samples of her. But, yeah, she's a singer, songwriter, and plays the heck out of the alto saxophone.
She does.
She's amazing.
It's a wonder she's not more well-known. I would think, well, in your world, but, in our humble ice skating world.
She's a hot thing in the jazz world.
And she's still relatively young. She recorded her first album when she was like 12 or 13 years old.
She's not even 30, is she?
She was a childhood prodigy, and she's been She's been performing on television in one of the late night show
really?
bands.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah, we do a music segment every Saturday on the Handyman Show, and it must have been a month ago when we had her in one of those lists. And Buddy is such a savant with music that he found her, and he's like, hey, let's see what you think. Man, she kills it. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's awesome.
That's before he knew she was coming to town, obviously.
Yeah, we didn't know that.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, Buddy ought to be there with bells on, for God's sakes. What time of the day? Because he's got to be here till noon on Saturday. What time is she?
Oh, she goes on in the afternoon, so she'll be on closer to 5 o'clock.
Oh, well, okay. Buddy can get out there.
Yeah.
Perfect day for him to drop the top on the Miata, let that nap of hair that he has and blow, and then roll on over
He's got a Miata?
Yeah, he's got a truck and a Miata. But he likes doing the Miata when the weather's good, and he can pop the top, and the truck when the weather's
and pop
bad.
something else
We've had her on our wish list for a while, and she's really she's a budding star and a force in jazz. She's worked with people like Herbie Hancock. She's worked with the Brubecks, Take Five
baby.
fame. And her mentors were David Sanborn and also Phil Woods, who was one of the most famous alto players ever. He played the solo on Just the Way You Are, which is considered the ultimate solo,
Really?
Mr. Raphael was so excited about Grace coming to town that he showed up yesterday ready to promote it.
Yeah, actually, Lance, I was here for the dress rehearsal for this interview.
Love it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I'm fascinated with her because she sings as well.
Yeah, and one of the
How does somebody get all that talent?
Another thing that really makes her interesting as a performer is that she mixes in a lot of influences from other genres. So she's a jazz saxophonist, but she mixes in rock and R&B, and
is this her music?
Influences from a whole wide range, and so her performances are so unique and so different than what when people hear jazz performance, they might have something in their mind that's a little old-fashioned. And she's the furthest thing from old-fashioned you can get.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. It's Mary Wieden You. We're talking with Tripp and Raphael, and it's all about the Jazz Festival this Saturday. We'll be back. Wow, folks, that is Grace Kelly. Welcome back to Mary Wieden You.
And they dress nice, too. They can dance a little bit, and they can do all that with a big old saxophone.
Yes, really. And that's Grace Kelly, the star performer for this week's and this year's annual Jazz Festival, Township Jazz Fest. 18th. Wow, guys.
That one, if you're
Tripp Douglas and Raphael Semmes.
That's Fish and Chips is the name
of the tune.
There you go.
Yeah. So did you find it pretty easily?
Oh yeah, she's mainstream. I just didn't know which songs you wanted out of her. She's got a bunch of them. So.
She does. It's all whatever. Anyway, all right, guys, we got to talk about who's the talent. She's the main talent, but I mean, who else is playing? If I would ever get up early enough, are you going to have the military people coming?
Not this year.
Early. You got somebody early in the morning.
We kick off at 11 a.m.
Mayor Gene McGee kicks us off at 11 o'clock. And then we have by popular demand, we have the Madison Central High School Jazz Band under the direction of Chuck Reynolds, and that's one of the finest high school bands in the state. They're outstanding. Wow. And then we have Murrah High School Band, who are known as 1400 Jazz FM, and they're going to be coming, and we're having them back as well. They we got a really good, a lot of good feedback on them. And then we have the JSU Jazz Ensemble.
Whoa!
Will be coming under the direction of David Ware. They'll be here, and everybody's really excited about them. And then, Tripp, tell them about the Vamps.
Yeah, so the Vamps has become a tradition for us. 18th Jazz Festival, and the very first one back in 2008, the Vamps performed, and they were the most widely known act that we had that year, and kind of what brought people out, the biggest name recognition. And so they've performed at every single one of our festivals since. And so they along with Southern Comfort have kind of become our hallmarks and our traditions.
That's cool. Isn't that cool that you got the traditions?
This year they're going going on a little earlier than normal because we squeezed in one additional act this year, so it's just jammed packed, and so we're at 1 o'clock, which is pretty early. Some people are used to showing up at 3 o'clock, 3:30 to hear the Vamps, so we want to make sure and let people know that they're on early. So get out there early, get a seat, stay all day.
Yeah,
so they'll be playing at 1.
Well,
recruit everybody on your social media and get them out there. Make sure they know the Vamps are on at
1 p.m. Well, they were the ones. When I was there, it was last year, or the year before. I've heard the name for years and years, but I had never seen them perform. Anyway, and they had taken a break, and all of a sudden I looked up and I realized there was this guy who looked like Tom Petty, and he did a few. He did a few strums, and he sounded like Jimi Hendrix. I'm like, oh my God! That was Barry Leach. Yep. I've yet to have him on the show, but
next we have the Soul City 3, and that's a new, really hot group here. It's there are a lot of genres of jazz, but jazz organ trios are really a staple in jazz music.
Organ trios?
Yeah, Jimmy Smith and people like that, and so we have a group right here in Jackson that started up, and they're really amazing. Tyler Kemp on organ and Tim Avalon on guitar, and Denny Burks, one of the co-founders of the Vamps, he's on drums. They're called the Soul City 3, and they're bringing out with the big 500-pound Hammond wood. They're bringing furniture to play on. This thing
is huge. Like this is a new wrinkle we've had to figure out is we had to increase the size of the stage and make sure it has enough weight bearing support, because this thing is a real big organ, a huge 500-pound wooden Hammond organ, and it has such a unique sound. I mean, it's such a distinct sound that we've never had it on the festival before. So
I wonder if it's really tubes. If it has tubes or it's got tubes.
It's an old school one.
Wow.
You see them in churches and stuff.
Wow.
But they were the one of the primary pieces of gear throughout the 60s and 70s. And then after that, the Raphael Semmes Quartet, my group's going to play. We play every Tuesday night at Howlin' Mouse at 6:30, and for jazz night. That's every Tuesday. So a lot of people are
If you want to know, if you don't know who Raphael, Mr. Music, as I call you, but
and then Damian Kavicki, who is the owner, and he and Mary Sanders, and the chef at Howlin' Mouse, and he's also been at the Biltmore before he came to Jackson, different places. But anyway, they're going to be one of the food vendors, so we're real excited about that. And the quartet is some of the most outstanding musicians around.
You and who are the others?
Knight Bruce is on keyboards, and he's just an amazing musician. And as is Todd Bobo, he's our only deltoid in the group. He's from the Delta, but Todd Bobo on saxophone. And then the amazing Maya Kiles. She's our drummer. And she is you just have to meet and see and hear Maya to
Will she do a drum solo?
Oh, she'll do one.
Oh, would that be great? I mean, she'll do one.
She'll do one.
Love those.
And then I'd say our most requested, at least in my view, most requested for a comeback, we're finally getting them back, is what Time Magazine and others have called the greatest, New Orleans' greatest modern jazz group. It's the group Astral Project. They're going to be here, and they're going on at 4 o'clock. And then, of course, we follow up with Grace Kelly, who, like I said, Tripp and I have been really wanting to have her in here, and we were able to work it out, and so we're really thrilled. And then, Tripp, tell them about the grand finale.
Yeah, so this tradition developed, I don't know, gosh, it's probably been about 10 years ago now. Southern Comfort, a big New Orleans-style brass band, is always our last performance. And so as soon as Grace Kelly finishes, it'll be a quick changeover. They'll come up, and they'll play a few songs on stage. And then they'll march right off the stage and lead the crowd out of the festival area down Township Avenue on a second line parade. And we always finish up on the steps at Fusion Coffee House, kind of where it all began. And it's typically picturesque with the sun setting, and we have it kind of finishes the day with an exclamation point right at 7 o'clock. And so 7 p.m. this thing is over, and the latest look at the forecast shows the rain is not scheduled to move in until later that night, 9, 10 o'clock. So we want everybody to come out and enjoy the day with us, and stay for that grand finale, because it's a super fun way to end the day.
There probably might be a person out there who's never been to this festival and they don't know where it is, so we need to tell them.
Well, it's on Highland Colony Parkway at the Township, And you can take Colony Park Boulevard and then just go down and you'll see the Highland Colony. And then if you're 2020 or if you're 1013, you can see the big white tent over there.
Well, I always tell people too. It's in Ridgeland, and we are within just a few hundred yards of the Washington Monument. The Washington Monument you see on I-55. You see the Washington Monument. Take that exit, and then you'll see the big circus tent.
What's the Washington Monument? Well, folks, the Washington Monument, so called, was because it's in Madison, right?
No, it's Ridgeland.
It's Ridgeland. Oh, okay. Somebody didn't want to have it looking like a regular tower, so somebody said, well, we're just going to put this cover over it. It looks like the Washington Monument.
Yep.
So, what's nice is too, you're right there on Highland Colony, so you don't have to go up zooming by on 55. I mean, you go on 55, but get on Highland Colony and you slowly make your way through, and you can find all kinds of parking way in the back. Hopefully,
That's right.
Hopefully there's still. I found a nice field to park in back there.
Mary, one thing I'd like to mention too is the festival is from 11 until 7, and we kind of urge people to get out there and hear these kids, these high school and college bands at 11 o'clock. These groups are all excellent, and you never know when the next Louis Armstrong or Freddie Hubbard or Miles Davis could be sitting within miles of us and be influenced by coming to this festival, which is another reason that we have free admission to the public. There's no charge.
It's free. By the way, I was going to say another outstanding band was the college band. Around here you think about the Sonic Boom. Okay, they're really great. Well, at the inauguration in January was the band from Valley State. Whoa, were they fantastic. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they were great. They showed so well. It was like, oh, how cool. And I didn't know when they were going to be on, but I just caught on NBC Nightly News. I had switched over. And just in time for Lester Holt to say, there's one more band. They're from Mississippi, and they're coming up right after this commercial. Yeah. Oh, thank you. So, we're so loaded with talent.
We have so much talent, and that's what's always difficult for us to figure out who we can fit into our tight schedule, because there's no shortage of talent.
What you got?
That is really, everything y'all have spoken about to this point leads me to the question, and I've always been fascinated with festivals and events, with music and food and parking, and you got to get porta potties and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me how you guys do this, because it ain't easy, but you make it look easy.
Well, thank you.
How much goes into all this?
We wander around. You see Raph running around.
It's the easiest thing I've ever done. All I got to do is call a few musicians and then say, "Okay, Tripp, I'm done. You do it."
I know that's this time of year. It's the biggest thing on my schedule. You're talking about the news and the mayoral race and everything. I'm not aware of any of that.
Right,
as far as I'm concerned, nothing else exists except this Saturday. And,
exactly. And you see Raphael running around. I don't try to say hello because I know you're busy. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. You are too, here, there. And your kids, by the way, Tripp's kids have grown up. They're like, they'll be like getting married pretty soon.
Dad
will still be doing.
They're 17 and they're baristas at the coffee shop. Yeah, so they're putting them to work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They started working when they were little too, didn't they? Yeah. So that's a fun thing.
But we just speaking of all the logistics. I mean, we have some great local vendors that we work with. Mississippi Tent does all of our tent and stage.
Who does the audio?
Billy Powell does our.
Billy Powell does our sound and lighting, and he is just amazing.
He's from Tylertown. And then McGraw Gotta Go does the restrooms, and you mentioned porta potties, which we don't have porta potties. We have these really nice restroom trailers that are air conditioned.
Oh yeah, like in Oxford, they're called the hottie toddy potty.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
You have to pay to get those things.
They're beautiful, folks. It sounds odd to say that, but really, porta potties are like, pfft, but these things are beautiful. It's like going into a lovely restaurant bathroom,
But then the other thing, just along the same lines of logistics, the event takes place at the township, which is managed by a company called Carryoff, and they're our partners in this, and so they provide us with support on doing the fencing of the arena and staffing and trash cans and all that logistical stuff, and then we've partnered. This is the second year in a row we partnered with one of our sponsors, Trust Care. The Express Medical Clinics Trust Care. So their kids division, the pediatric division, Trust Care Kids, puts on a kids zone, and so this is a fully fenced-in, enclosed area at the far end of the festival arena.
With the south end.
Yeah, the south end with inflatables. They're going to have bouncy houses and obstacle courses and face painting, and again it's free, and it's a great place to let your kids go run around and have fun while you put out a blanket and enjoy the music.
And Mary, one thing you'll love is we're also.
Let's hold on to one thing I love. We got one more segment to go. Oh, pet friendly. Oh, cool. And we'll be right back for our final segment. It's Mary Wieden You getting ready for the Jazz Fest. Come on.
No, I threw the Vamps in there. That's
I thought that was Grace Kelly singing.
Grace Kelly.
Oh, well, whoever that is fabulous too. Who is that? What's her name? Do you know, you guys? Do you know about her with this? Oh, okay. Anyway, so we got our final segment here. You got wonderful, when we were starting to talk about them too, weren't we? Talking about some really good your sponsors and stuff. Yeah.
So
sponsors.
The other way, to kind of finish answering your question about how do we do it, and we
go nuts.
The biggest question we get all the time is how do we put on an event of this size and this quality without charging $25, $30 per ticket? And the only way that we're able to do that is because we have a very small number. It's really pretty small number of sponsors that have stepped up and helped fund this thing. And it's presented by Morgan White Group. They're our title sponsor. But then Explore Ridgeland, the Ridgeland Tourism Commission is a sponsor. Renaissance Bank, who has one of their big locations right there by the festival. AAA Travel is a new. They're not a new company, but they have a new office, newish office close to us at the township. They're a silver sponsor. Trust Care Kids, who I mentioned, is a silver sponsor. And then the AC Hotel and the Town Place Suites are located in the township. That's where we put up our musicians and our sound crew in those hotels.
That's good.
Hancock Whitney Bank and Nuke's Eatery, which is also located at the township. And that's it. I mean, this really small number of companies that step up and they fund this event, which, like you said, is growing, and that means the budget and the costs are growing as well.
Yes.
And they have increased their support. And, we just always want to let people know to pay attention to these sponsors, especially an event like this, because we always say they are buying your ticket, basically. They are paying for you to attend this event, which is a free community event of the highest quality, and it could not be done without these people.
And, if you were a broadcast facility, the audience would be knocked over with ads, a lot of commercials.
That's
there are
right.
no commercials. Nobody steps up and says, I'm with the bank, or I'm with... Nobody does that. You see posters and banners. And that's it. I mean, it's unobtrusive and greatly appreciated that they do that. And if you want to know, you can find out who they are. And it's a really neat way of doing things.
And if anybody out there listening wants to be in the family of sponsors, you can contact Tripp at Fusion Coffee House.
Yeah, fusioncoffeehouse.com. It's the easiest way to get in touch with me. And speaking of websites, you can see the full lineup as well as photos and a map at townshipjazzfestival.com. You can see the schedule and
monthly show.
Yeah, of course Raphael's reminded me we have live jazz monthly at Fusion, and so this is something we do at least once a month every year inside the coffee house. And if you want to sign up for our email list, you can do that at fusioncoffeehouse.com. And
if you always Raph or other people?
Oh no, Raphael coordinates it. He's sort of our host, and sometimes he plays, but he's always there to interview our guests because it's sort of like jazz and conversation, where you get to hear the music, but also learn about the artist's influences and how they end up where they are, and it's always interesting.
I call him Mr. Music of Mississippi, really, because you care so much about your business and you love it so very much. Instead of just going and playing, on your way. No, you care about the people. You care about your musicians, don't you think? He wants to make sure that everybody's got some good gigs and that they get publicity for their work, and I think that's terrific. We have such a good organization of artistic people in this community. If you don't know, folks, you're nuts, because you're the music, and then they're the art people, and the music people. New Stage, is very well regarded throughout the whole region of the country. Mm-hmm. They're very well regarded, and music. My gosh, this music we have here is unbelievable. And folks, you don't have to know anything about jazz. I always say this. You don't have to know anything about jazz to go to this jazz festival, because it's thoroughly delightful. It's
Mississippi is known as a blues state, and it's sort of the alpha and everything. But we have tremendous jazz heritage. There's some gigantic figures in jazz from right here in Mississippi. And so we have people, when we started doing the show, the monthly show, we'd have people say, I'd kind of like to come, but I don't know, I just don't get jazz. I'm not into jazz. I don't know if I'd like it. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, do you like blues? And they said, yeah. I said, well, jazz is just blues that swings.
Oh, good.
So come on out. And we have had people that came to the show and then came to the festival, and now they're regulars.
Yeah, that's actually one of the most common comments I hear from people that are out at the festival. They'd say, "I didn't know I liked jazz." They didn't.
I'm kind of like that.
They didn't realize.
I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I always think of jazz as something I didn't understand.
And jazz is such a big category. If you look at our lineup, it has.
Yeah.
There's so much variety. You're going to hear things like the Vamps that sound more like they call it soul jazz. Sounds more like rock, but then you hear the soul. Soul City 3 sounds kind of like that retro 60s and 70s sound. Then Raphael's group is what I would call traditional jazz. Astral Project is contemporary jazz, and then Grace Kelly is just all over the place.
She's herself.
She's so unique. I mean, her latest album, Grace Kelly with Strings, is actually her playing songs from movies, like soundtracks, but in a jazzy way.
Whoa!
And so she has theater influences, rock, R&B, hip hop, and she just kind of melds it all together in this interesting mix. And then we finish with Southern Comfort, a New Orleans style brass band. So there's literally every act is different and fun in their own way. And it starts at 11 a.m. and it just goes for 8 hours.
Is Astral real brassy?
Modern, no.
Brassy? They're not brassy?
There's Tony DeGrati is one of the best sax players in America, and he is plays the horn, and then they've got they play saxophone, and then they have a bass. A drummer and a guitar player that plays a 7-string, not 6, a 7-string guitar.
Ooh.
And Steve Maskowski, and he is a force of nature, so you got to see that. But Mary, you mentioned a minute ago about musicians and the network of musicians and people and the arts people and all that. I got to tell you, people out there that are listening and are excited about this, tell someone else about it. I'm going to use an example. There's a guy named Charles Hooker, a retired, very successful businessman, and he became a jazz aficionado years ago, and now he's one of the best promoters of people coming out to hear jazz. So we urge all the audience. And one thing I have to say too is I think Lance and some of the guys are Richard. I know Richard is familiar with this guy, but one of the things that happened when we were trying to get Grace Kelly is Glenn Waddle.
Yes.
Who is the press box announcer for Ole Miss events, sporting events, is her biggest fan. He is absolutely a phenomenal fan of hers, and Glenn has corresponded with her and everything. And to our jazz night, he wears his Grace Kelly T-shirt and everything. So and Glenn tells everyone. So it's important that people out there in the public, hey, let's go try the jazz thing. We might like it. Yeah.
That's why I'm with jazz. I mean, it's to me, as somebody that hacks around on a guitar bit, learning the foundations of everything, and jazz has so much in there, so much color. But if it sounds good and you enjoy it, you don't have to know anything about music. That's what I learned. If you like it, it doesn't matter what label is on it. You just absorb it. It makes the heart up a little more, makes the mind open up, and you just enjoy it.
You don't have to understand or think it through. You just go, hey, I really like this. It makes me feel good.
And Lance, wouldn't you agree that it's all rooted in blues?
Oh yeah, definitely.
B.B. King had a big hit record. Other than The Thrill Is Gone, probably his other biggest crossover record to all genres of stations was called Make Your Move Too Soon, and that's because he developed a big interest in jazz, being from Beale Street in Memphis and doing all that. But he recorded with the Crusaders, and so blues inspires every kind of music, but jazz took it to another plane.
Yeah, ran a different way.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of the Dirty Dozen brass band out of New Orleans, and that's kind of where I got started with jazz, away from the older classical jazz. You go to the big band jazz. First time I ever saw him was like at a jazz brunch.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world have I been missing? I was hooked, man.
Yeah, do you go to his jazz brunch?
I'm usually here
No,
on
that's
Saturday.
that's on Sunday morning.
Table
Sunday.
100 every Sunday, 11
I
a.m.
need to make it to that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm usually asleep. That's my one day.
And they go
off.
around. It's a trio, and they go around to the tables and they serenade you. You get to pick what you want. You pick what you want to hear.
We're there till 2, man. So you just get up about 12:30.
That'll work. No, I have been down there. My mom, sister, and I and family went down maybe a year or so ago, and you guys were there. It was a Sunday brunch.
That's it.
But I need to go check it out.
You'll have to bring your guitar out one Tuesday night and hang out with us.
Yeah, I'll bring it so you can look at it.
I have a guitar too, and it's like I just look at it. I mean, my fingers are nothing. It was made by Fender, but it's not a Fender. It was something else. It's an off-brand of Fender, and it's just sort of there. EAB7. That's about it.
Yeah.
A few other things. Tripp, you don't do any of that. You know what EAB7 is, right?
No.
Chords. Chord. You can play anything on EAB7. Did you know that, Lance?
Well, I know all my chords and notes and scales and everything, man.
FG and maybe E is a good one. Those are three. Those go together. Like EAB7, they go together, and the other three. That's about it.
What comes, and as musicians have always told me, whose brains I pick, when I think and study and try and learn music theory and all that, throw all that away.
Yeah.
Just play music.
By the way, one of B.B. King's best duos that I found online one time is he and Ruth Brown doing Ain't Nobody's Business What We Do. It's great.
Yes,
it's a great thing the first time they did it together. Well, so, you know what? We got to get out of here, guys.
Right. Well,
this was a band I picked because I love them. They're out of Cuba. And it's a Flowering Inferno, Cumbria Sol El Mar.
It's easy for you to say.
No comprende.
Yeah, really. Raphael Semmes and Tripp Douglas. Thank you so much for coming. It's the big event, Township Jazz Festival, this coming Saturday, 11 to 7. And the weather's going to be good. And it'll be great. Food, music, fabulous people. It's a wonderful thing.
We will have covered seating. People have asked about the weather.
Cool.
We will have.
It's a rain or shine event.
We will have 350 chairs under the big tent, but the last forecast shows that weather's, the rain's holding off until later that night. So we encourage people to bring your lawn chairs, blankets if you want to be out in the grass.
Yep.
No tents or coolers. We got plenty of food and plenty of covered seating.
It'll be
Thank
fun.
you, Mary and Lance.
Number 18. It's the number 18. See ya.